Hey, Crosspoint, it's so good to be with you tonight. You know, over this last couple of weeks, we've been in a series called I Have Questions. And you know what? I have a lot of questions about so many different things. If you ask any person that's been on a team with me, I'm the one that's always going, what about this? And what about that? Well, tonight we get to jump into a conversation about creation. Because it's important. It's all around us. We live in it. We're part of it. And God values creation in so many different ways. And we're going to dig into that tonight. But before we do, I want to talk to you about something that I experienced recently. It's a bit of a confession. Now, listen, I know I'm a campus pastor, and I know I work at this church, but I'm going to be very honest and vulnerable with you for a moment. At the back end of 2020, my life was unraveling. My mental health wasn't where it was supposed to be. I was struggling with different areas of my life. And I remember going to see a counselor just to be able to share what was going on within my heart and my mind. As we sat down, he began to ask me a ton of questions about my life. He began to ask me what was causing the stresses and the pains, in my heart and in my mind. And then he asked me this really important question. He says, Lee, what do you do to relax? And in that moment, I had to kind of think through everything. And I said, that's easy. I go for a run. I lace up my shoes. I put on, my headphones. Sorry, not earbuds, headphones. I put in the headphones, and then I'll crank up some music, whether it's Metallica, Nirvana, a little bit of lo-fi, maybe some John Mayer, depending on what I'm feeling, maybe a bit of Jimi Hendrix. I don't know, it could be anything on that day. But then I get out there and I run. But I have that music turned up really loud so I can just be immersed in the running. The counselor looked at me. His eyes looked straight into my soul, and I was like, I'm in trouble. And he says, so basically, Lee, you're telling me that you're wired in and that you're so engrossed in the music and what you're doing that you're not giving yourself space to think and feel? Ouch. That hurt. It cut right to the core of me. And in that moment, I was like, no, I do think. He goes, no. You're avoiding feeling by listening to music and running. You're avoiding everything. He said, next time you go out running, I want you to do something. I want you to go out to the trails, and I want you to lace up your shoes, and I want you to leave your iPhone, music, everything behind, and I want you to just get out in creation. Just run. Just see what happens when you do it. And to be honest, at first I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. But I was paying him a lot of money to make sure that he was helping me, so I thought I'd better listen to his advice. So I got to the trail, put on my shoes, left the iPhone in the car, and said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to run without anything, in my ears. I'm just going to get out there and run. And I began to run, and at first I hated it. I hated every bit of it. I wanted Jimi Hendrix, I wanted Metallica, I wanted something to help me get through the run. But slowly, bit by bit, step by step, something amazing began to happen. As I took a step, I began to hear the pine needles under my feet began to snap and pop. I began to hear the wind in the trees. I began to feel the ground pushing underneath me as my foot pushed in. And then as I extended my body to move forward, I began to feel all these things. I began to hear the birds in the trees and the squirrels running around and all the other animals in the woods. And there was this amazing moment where suddenly I began to feel. I felt calm. I felt at peace. I felt the goodness of God. It was almost as if God was smiling down on me and saying, Lee, you're doing it. You're feeling, you're processing. And now, if anyone asks you, or asks me, I'm saying, hey, I'm out there and I'm running without anything being wired in because I want to experience God's creation. We all think and feel things about creation. When we step out into the woods, when we step out into God's creation, we all think and feel things. Maybe for you, when you step out into that, you're feeling different. You're like, nah, it's all good. I prefer to be playing my video games. Or maybe you feel intrigued. Maybe you feel curious. Maybe when you're out in creation, something within you becomes alive. Or maybe you're like, nah, I'd rather wait until the metaverse rolls out and I'll be there with Zuckerberg. Or I'd rather be, on my video games. We all think and feel things. Maybe you're an eco-warrior. Maybe you're out there on a weekly basis saying, save the red pandas. I mean, they are cute. They deserve to be saved. Mice, rats, and anything else, not so much. Cats, yeah, they can go on the endangered list. But red pandas, we've got to save them. But maybe you're an eco-warrior. Maybe you're passionate about saving this planet. Or maybe you're the kid that walks down the street and throws the Coke can on the side and says someone else can clear that up. Either way, we all think and feel things about creation. So right now in this message, we're going to pause and we're going to jump into a couple of questions to help you think about creation in a whole new way. So let's do that right now. Let's pause and jump into these questions. All right, well, it's so good to jump back into this conversation. I hope the time that you just spent in those groups has really got your mind thinking about creation. For me, growing up, I didn't grow up in a church like you. I grew up in a small church way back in the day. So much so that I have so many stories and so many fond memories and also some weird things that happened. Like there was a lady who used to sing at our church and she sounded like a goat. She did. She would start singing songs and her heart was chasing after Jesus, but she needed singing lessons. She would sing songs like this, like, I surrender all. And then whenever I heard her sing, she sounded like a goat. And then there was this one song, and she used to sing it with everything that she got. She'd say, the heavens declare the glory of God. And all I saw was a goat. Every time she sang, I was like, she is a goat. Not the goat, she is a goat. But hey, that song that she sang that's now stuck in my head was found in Scripture. In Psalm 19, verses 1-4, it says this, the heavens declare, I'm seeing the goat. I'm just seeing her singing, but hey, we'll stick with it. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hand. Day after day, they pour forth speech. Night after night, they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth. Their words to the ends of the earth. In heavens, God has pitched a tent for the sun. King David was the author of this, and as he was writing these beautiful combinations of words, he was trying to communicate to the people, he was trying to communicate to us that creation points to the Creator, that everything that we see around us points to the Creator. It's powerful. That's why when we see a sunrise and we see a sunset, that's why when we see trees, we see a seed that grows into a flower or a plant, all of that is pointing towards the Creator, to God. It's powerful. But so often, because we've grown up in this world, we miss it. We miss the beauty that's around us. And sometimes, just like me running, we have to take a moment to pause and look around us. The Bible talks about creation. It talks about how it all began. And in Genesis 1 verse 1, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters." I love that part, that the Spirit of God was waiting in anticipation for God to speak life into this planet. And it goes on to say, "And God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light. And God saw that the light was good." When we read through Genesis, we see God taking time to create this beautiful planet. And every time, like he created something, it was like, a field goal attempt had been kicked and someone just said, "It's good." Like he was so excited. When he created, night and day, he said, "It's good." And when he created land and sea, he said, "It's good." When he created the stars and the heavens, he said, "It's good." And consistently, he's saying, "This is so good. This is so beautiful. This is so amazing." And we should feel that. That when we're in creation, we should feel the goodness of God. We should feel the greatness of God. And we should be in majesty and awe of his his ability to create things. And he looked at us and said, "This is yours. This is for you. This is all the good things that I have for you." But I wonder sometimes if we spend so much of our life focused with our head down that we miss the goodness and creation of God. I wonder sometimes if we spend so much time wired into our consoles and our devices and our computers that we forget to pause and have a look at the beauty and the splendor of what God had created. It's funny. When you go through something, when you experience something, maybe you're battling with something in your mind and in your heart, you begin to kind of almost look inward and look down. I don't know about you, but when I'm wrestling with something in my mind, when I'm struggling with a few things, my posture is to look downward. A couple of weeks ago, I was wrestling with some stuff. I was battling with some thoughts and some anxieties, and I'd got myself into this rut where it almost felt like I was alone. I was battling it through on my own, and I was looking down and I was looking just depressed. And it was one morning I got up for church and I was driving down from Fairview to get to Bellevue, and just at that point, the sunrise began to come up. And it was one of the most beautiful things that I'd seen in a long, long time. And it was a reminder that even though it felt dark in the morning, that the sun was about to rise, that something was about to change. And in that moment, I saw creation and it pointed me to the Creator. That even though what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing right now is difficult, that if surely the sun will rise, then this will change. And in that moment, creation, the sunrise, pointed me to the Creator, and my heart began to rejoice. My heart began to cry out and say, "God, you are good. I want to see more of your goodness. I trust you in this situation. I trust you in what I'm walking through. Thank you for creating this sunrise to teach me a lesson about you." For each and every one of us, we can learn so much from creation because creation points to the Creator. The wonder and the majesty and the splendor of a waterfall can point us to God. The way that the skies form, the clouds, the wind, the air, the trees, the animals, creation itself should point us towards God. So right now, let's pause and let's jump into our groups again and talk about how creation points us to the Creator. Hey, Crosspoint students. So we've been discussing how creation points to the Creator, how everything around us is going to point us to the heart of God and His goodness, and how that we can step into creation and experience all that. But there's more to it than this. There's more to it than just us going out into nature and being, look at the goodness of God, how great is it? It's more than us just going up and hugging trees and saying, God, I love you through this tree. Or it's more than just us getting up in the morning and watching a sunrise or staying up late and watching a sunset. God had a purpose in creation. He had a purpose for each and every one of us. And it's so amazing when you look at it. Genesis 2, verse 15 gives us that clear purpose. It said that the Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden, creation, to work it and take care of it. That we weren't just created to admire it and to look at it, but we were created to tend it, to look after it, to care for it, to take a biblical word called stewardship and really look after it. Stewardship is defined as this. It means being trustworthy and responsible for what we've been given. There was a time in my life where I had an old car that just died. Like it was bad. And my dad said, hey, listen, that car is dead. It needs to go to the junkyard, but let's go and get you a new car. And I took this car, he bought this car, he said, hey, but make sure you look after it, make sure you treat it right. And if I'm honest, I didn't treat it right. You know, I'd go out, I'd grab fast food, I'd throw the wrappers, into the car, I'd spill stuff on the seats, I wouldn't get the oil change done. And eventually this car that was beautiful and clean and new was completely junked up. And I remember just this feeling of like, oh gosh, I let my dad down. Like I've not looked after it properly. I've not cared for it properly. See, that is bad stewardship. That is me taking a gift that's been given to me and not treating it right. But on the other hand, afterwards, when I realized what I had done, I began to look after the car more. I began to get the oil changes done. I began to take the trash out and make sure that the upholstery was okay and make sure everything was good. And I made sure that I washed it and cleaned it. And that is good stewardship of the gift given to me. And in the same way, Genesis 2 verse 15 talks about God entrusting the world to us and saying, hey, be good stewards of this. Look after it. Be responsible. Be trustworthy. Watch over it. And we see it all the time. We see it in our life. We see how people look after the earth, how people look after the nature and animals, but also how people can exploit it by deforestation and so many different areas. And we're feeling the effects of it in our planet. We're seeing it on a global scale, fires and famines and floods and global warming. And we have the ability to make a change. We have the ability to be good stewards by doing good things to the planet, by looking after it and tending it and caring for it. And tonight, we could go into a full-on list about how you can help save the planet and look after the planet. But for time, we've got a couple of things that we think that can help you. Number one, I think this is getting outside more and enjoying this gift. The more you get out and you enjoy it, the more you appreciate it. I am less likely to throw trash in the park if I spend time in the park and enjoy it. It's why when I'm out running on the trails, when I'm out there just in creation, if I see trash, I'll pick it up and I'll put it in the trash can. Because I care for it, because I enjoy it, because I value it, because I see the importance of the gift that God has given me. And I say, I am going to show kindness, I'm show goodness, I'm going to show value. Also, it's like in our house. Like in our house now, we recycle. Why? Because we know that the trash that we goes to a landfill. And I want to care for the planet. So by the simple act of, recycling, I'm caring for it. I'm showing good stewardship. But I think by getting outside more, getting off our consoles, enjoying creation, we'll begin to appreciate it more. I think by paying attention to creation. Like, when was the last time you just went for a walk? When was the last time you went to the park and just experienced the goodness of God, the creation of God? When was the last time that you put down all the distractions of this world and just said, God, I'm here, I'm outside, I'm enjoying the sun, and began to truly appreciate what God has given to you? And finally, maybe it's taking a step towards, a greater responsibility. Maybe for you, just like us, it's adopting, recycling in your house. Like making sure that you take the things to the right place, that the green bottles go in the green bottles thing and the aluminum cans go in the aluminum cans. Yes, I said aluminium, aluminium. That's what we say in England. But, recycling in the right places. Or maybe for you, it's signing up to go to the local park and help pick up trash. Or maybe it's going to the local animal shelter and taking time to care for the animals that have been abandoned, where you can show the love of God and care. Either way, we can all be responsible for this planet. Either way, we can all show good stewardship to this planet and to show God that not only do we love creation because it points, us to Him, but also that we care about it. That we deeply care about it because it matters to Him. In other words, to wrap up this whole message about creation, you are called to enjoy it, honor it, respect it, and take care for it. And that is a challenge on a daily basis that we can step into. So right now, before we jump into these final questions, I'd love to take a moment just to pray for you. The number one, you would experience creation in a whole new way that continues to point you to the Creator. And number two, that your heart would change and turn so that you would care for this beautiful planet of ours and experience all the goodness of God. So Jesus, we thank you. We thank you for the gift of this planet. We thank you for the gift of creation. We thank you that all around us, the beautiful world that we live in, this created world that you gave us, points us towards you. That creation points us towards the Creator and the goodness of God. I pray that you would help us to see that, to experience that. But also, I pray that you would turn our hearts where we would desire to care and tend and look after creation, to care for this world around us, so that not only us, but generations after us can experience the beauty and experience how it points us to you. And Jesus, I pray all these things in your powerful name. Amen. So as we wrap up our time, we're going to jump into a final couple of questions on how we can care for creation and experience it on a whole new level. Good night, God bless, and I'll see you soon.